Hi, my name is Ann Westra, and I chose to do my food and culture project on Kluski noodles. The reason I chose this dish in particular was that it represents a big part of my own culture, and mainly on my mom's side, it's one of her dominant ethnicities. And we eat this dish at family gatherings, so it really just reminds me of my family and being together and happy times. The cultural history behind these noodles, they did originate from Poland, and it's a general name for just soft, mushy dumplings. And it first made an appearance in the 18th century, and then it quickly spread from Poland to many other Central European cities. It really just appeared wherever there was an abundance of grains to eat, so like agricultural areas, and it really just represents a migratory food that brings people together. For the nutrition facts, I decided to do just for the noodle itself, since there are so many different ways to incorporate the noodles into other dishes. So for a 56-gram serving, the noodles have 220 calories, 40 grams of carbohydrates, 8 grams of protein, 3 grams of total fat, and 1.8 milligrams of iron and 0.56 milligrams of thiamine. As for if it is considered healthy or not, the noodle itself really isn't. It doesn't have provide the most nutritional value, as it doesn't have a lot of vitamins or minerals. It's relatively low in protein. The carbohydrate isn't too bad, but by itself, it just does not provide a lot. However, the way you incorporate the noodles into other dishes really could have an effect on this. If you include other proteins in it and other vegetables, that would significantly increase the health value. For how it's made, it's relatively simple. You start by making a dough ball with flour, salt, and eggs, and then you have to knead it. Then once it is kneaded, you cover it with plastic and let it rest. You then roll the dough out as thin as you possibly can, let it dry, and then you cut it into 1/8 inch strips to create the individual noodles. You then lay out the noodles on a floured pan to dry again, and then once they dry, you cook it in just salted boiling water and drain it like you would with regular noodles. So overall, it is relatively simple, but it just takes a bit of time. The person I chose to interview was my mom. As I said earlier, this is the culture I gained from my mom's side, and she has even closer ties than I do. And the first question I asked her was how often she ate it growing up, and she said once a year at Christmas and then occasionally on Easter, but it wasn't as consistent. And Christmas is now one of the only times that I eat it as well. We don't really make it at home as much. The next question I asked was how does her family prepare it, since there are so many different ways, and this is the recipe that she follows that she sent me. And we make it more of like a casserole. So there is cream of mushroom soup in it, butter, and sauerkraut that gets added. And the sauerkraut is one of the main things that adds a lot of the flavor into it. And you can see on her notes here, you can add Polish sausage, which we do also have at Christmas Eve, so a lot of people do that. And then other non-traditional ways you can add different things into it. So this ties into my next question, which what other ways have you seen the noodles be prepared? And she said traditionally, you can add Polish sausage, mushrooms, or cabbage. And then if you want to just make it any other type of casserole, you can add pretty much any protein you'd like chicken or seafood or just any other vegetables that just aren't as traditional to the culture. And then I asked her how she learned to make it, and the recipe was given to her from her mother, so it is from her family. The final question I asked is, in what way was the dish culturally important to her? And she said it really just connects her family to her past, as both grandparents on her dad's side have strong ethnic ties to Poland, so it really just connects to the family that she didn't have as much time to spend with. And it also became an expectation on Christmas, and when her mom got older and decided to stop making it, my mom decided to carry on the tradition. So it's really just a traditional thing that ties the family together. Some other information is that overall it's a very versatile thing. You can make it into soups or casseroles, as I said, and it really was created for its simplicity and ability to have that variation. And then also, it's often confused and compared to regular egg noodles, but Kluski noodles actually do use more eggs, so the ratio of flour to eggs in Kluski is 1:2 instead of 1:1, like in regular egg noodles. All right, that is all the information that I had on